Welcome to Legal Guide Philippines, where we simplify the law to help you make better choices. I'm Attorney Erwin Zagala, and I'm with my partner,
Attorney Ramon Ramirez.
And today we have a special episode for you guys because we will be talking about mental health issues at work and at school. And to give you guys more things to think about and more resources to work with, we brought along a special guest, a friend of ours. Please welcome Coach Aileen Santos. Hello, Aileen.
Hello, Legal Guide PH. Happy to be here.
Do you mind giving our readers and viewers an intro para makilala ka naman nila?
Okay, so I am Coach Aileen Santos. My background is in Counselling Psychology. I'm a registered guidance counselor locally, and I'm also a certified professional coach internationally. And I've been working with schools and corporations as well.
Ayun, Attorney Ramon, I think we couldn't have gotten a better guest when it comes to mental health issues. Kasi, Coach Aileen, the way I understand it, you're really at the forefront. Kumbaga, frontliner ka when it comes to mental health issues. You deal with this almost on a daily basis, correct?
Yes.
Ayan. So, Coach Aileen, kami ni Attorney Ramon, actually, there's a question that comes up paulit-ulit and we wanted to get your feedback on this. So, kunwari, for work settings, so may manager and then may empleyado. And then, si empleyado biglang nag-absent na sunod-sunod. Or, in some instances, hindi nakapag-comply with the targets or bumaba yung performance. And when the employee is asked, ano nangyari when they are held accountable for what happened, ang sinasagot is, well, may mental health issues po ako. It's affecting my mental health.
Yeah.
And the challenge with that is it kind of blurs the lines between a valid mental health problem that can be affecting work or a mental health issue that's being used, sorry to say, there's no other word for it, but used as an excuse for failures at work or at school. So we wanted to get your opinion. How do we make sense out of all of this, Coach?
Okay. That is a very valid question right now. So I think we can all agree na this is happening in the workplace as well as in schools. Na we all know that mental health issues are valid, but at the same time, if it's not understood correctly, pwede nga siyang gamiting excuse. Now, in this situation, when we talk about the validity of mental health issues, I'm really looking forward to that time na at par na siya with physical conditions. Kasi yun din nga sinasabi ko sa mga whether it's students or parents or people in the workplace na we don't stay away from people with mental health issues kasi parang someone with diabetes. Okay, na-diagnose siya with diabetes, pero it's not something na makes them so super different from us. So, the way that we should approach it, whether it's in the workplace or in the school, is the way we approach it right now with physical conditions. So, ang first step is really diagnosis. Talagang if someone is saying na they are really having a mental health breakdown or a mental health issue, the best way to help them is to have a diagnosis. It's almost like saying na nag-absent siya for 10 days dahil may COVID siya, pero wala naman siyang positive na testing. Di ba? So paano natin matutulungan itong someone na to? Kasi yun ang goal naman ng lahat magtulungan tayo. Kasi I also understand and appreciate that we have very good employees na pag nagkasakit, you don't fire them dahil nagkasakit sila. We support them because they are good employees. We just need to help them get better so that they can get back to their excellent track record.
I think a point here arises because you want to help them. Pero paano mo tutulungan if you don't know what the problem is, correct?
Exactly.
So diagnosis is really the
diagnosis. And
ang
it's
challenge
really
lang,
important.
Coach,
It's
ang
really
challenge,
important
Coach,
as
is parang hindi kasi siya as apparent as physical symptoms. Kunwari, nag-LBM ka. Kita naman yung ebidensya, di ba? May naiwan
punta sa restroom.
may ebidensya yun
Pag
for mental health.
may sipon ka.
Lagnat.
Oo.
But for mental health kasi it's internal eh. So I guess iba talaga yung laro when it comes to validating, diagnosing, and addressing it. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about diagnosing it? Kasi ako mismo
Okay.
naguguluhan ako kung sakaling yung empleyado, o sige, sinabi niya na may mental health issues, kanino siya dapat lumapit? Or sino yung dapat niyang hingian ng tulong?
Yan. That is a very good question. Okay, kasi marami nga hindi rin nakakaintindi sino ang lalapitan nila. Hindi tulad sa physical health conditions, lapit sila sa doktor or any hospital and then may magda-diagnose sa kanila. Now, there are 3 kinds of people that we can approach when it comes to diagnosis. Psychiatrists, counselors, and psychometrician. Psychometrician, sila talaga yung basic na sila yung magaling sa testing. Kasi there are already tests for this. That's the good news. Hindi siya, it might seem like, yes, they are not as obvious as yung may physical symptoms tayo na may lagnat, may certain temperature, pero may testing na tayo for this. So you can go to a psychometrician, so that's one option. You can go to a psychiatrist, or you can go to a counselor, guidance counselor. So all 3 of them are parang authorized to conduct testing and to analyze tests. Yung yung tests na ito, in the same way na parang yung blood test, may bayad rin, may separate tests depending on the symptoms that you have. Pero when it comes to these 3 people, yung psychometrician after testing, tapos na. Hindi na siya authorized to do anything else. The psychiatrist can give you medicine. It's only the psychiatrist who can prescribe meds if you need meds. And therapy, yung regular therapy, yun naman yung realm ng counselor. So ano yung difference ng meds dun sa regular therapy? Kasi yung meds, ganito yun parang mahina ang buto mo. So kailangan nagka-calcium ka. Pero kailangan i-exercise mo yung buto mo para tumibay ka habang nagba-vitamins ka. So yun yung therapy. Emotional health, emotional self-management, emotional well-being. It's like a muscle that only the therapist can create a plan with you, and then tuloy-tuloy yung pagmamonitor ninyo doon. And then ipapractice natin yung emotional health muscles natin.
Kumbaga ito na yung long-term na treatment. Kasi it's not a one-time thing na kapag pinainom ka ng gamot, magic, okay na yung symptoms mo. No? So it's a long-term treatment.
And
Coach,
when we say long-term, pwedeng lang yun pwedeng sabihin natin, it really depends. Yung iba, kaya na nilang ma-manage ang sarili nila after 1 year and then check-in na lang with Yung iba, 6 weeks lang ang kailangan and then check-in na lang as needed. So, it really depends kasi baka nakita ko, baka yung ibang empleyado natatakot naman na parang, nako, forever na ako magta-therapy. It's not always the case. It really depends on what diagnosis you get, but it always starts from there. Ano ba yung issue na hinaharap mo para matulungan ka talaga ng mga tao?
Hearing that, parang it emphasizes the need for proper diagnosis talaga kasi no 2 people are the same. So yung treatment na pwedeng gumana sa isang tao may not be the appropriate treatment for another person.
Parang antibiotic, di ba? Hindi porket may antibiotic na nag-work sa'yo, yun din ang para sa akin. Depende kung viral, bacterial, anong klaseng nilalabanan niya.
Coach, ito medyo unfamiliar ako. Kasi kunwari humingi ng referral, client ko, or na-report sa akin na, sir, yung empleyado po namin may mental health issues. Where do they start looking for these people? Assuming na walang guidance counselor sa kumpanya. Do they just Google it? Do they go to a certain hospital? Paano po ang starting point?
Actually, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, pero all hospitals have psychiatric wings, psychiatric wards. So may psychiatrists doon. And then the psychiatrist, after they do a diagnosis, or kung hindi ayos yung schedule nila, psychiatrists also work with counselors and therapists and psychometricians. So it's still the
any
hospital
would be a good start.
Usually tertiary ang mas kompleto. In the same way na marami ring sakit, mas madadiagnose sa tertiary clinic ay tertiary hospital kaysa sa mga small clinics.
So just to recap from if I understand correctly, Coach Aileen, in the workplace or in the school environment, pag sinabing, I have mental health issues, that's not just one thing. From what you're saying,
oh yeah,
it's hindi siya mental health issue. Alam ko na yan. ito yan, this is what you need to
Hindi.
do, this is what you need to take. There's really tests need to be done, and
Yes.
may mga diagnosis na pwedeng lumabas from those tests, no? So it's not just this general thing na that everybody knows about.
Yes.
Tama ba? Tama at
yes, thank you for pointing that out, Attorney Ramon. Kasi nga akala ng mga tao na ay na-depress ako, mental health issue, and that's it. That's what a lot of people understand. Pero in the same way na physical health issues, it can go from anywhere from fracture to sipon to pneumonia to cerebral palsy to stroke to arrhythmias to cancer to diabetes. Ang dami niyan. We have a lot of mental health, may mental health disorders, may personality disorders, may mga different kinds of diagnoses. And we need to find out ano talaga, yung in the same way na doctor cannot give you meds if hindi nila alam ano sakit mo. Same thing with mental health. Iba't ibang support rin ang kailangan. And not just from the doctor rin, but also, and from the therapist, but also from the family members. Kasi different mental health issues will require different kinds of support from family members. Tulad lang din ng physical conditions.
Coach, I have a question. Kasi a lot of employees or students, medyo may kaba na parang, ayoko magpatingin sa psychiatrist. Parang may stigma kasi attached to that. Do you have any inputs or kunwari may nakikinig right now who are on the fence na parang feeling ko meron akong mental health issue pero natatakot ako. What would you say to a person like that?
Actually, it's not just mental health issue, Attorney, kasi kung titingnan mo nga, pati nga mga sakit, ayaw magpa-check up ng mga Pilipino. Dapat talaga sa doktor. Pero, here's the thing. Unang-una talaga, we can't help ourselves. Hindi tayo gagaling kahit anong sakit, whether it's a mental health issue or a physical health issue, hindi natin ma-achieve yung optimal health kung hindi natin alam ano yung condition na tinitreat natin. So, one thing that we need to remember is when we know what we're dealing with, then we can have a plan of action. So, identify the problem so you have a plan of action for solving it. Pero second consideration that we also really need to remember as well is kung may mental health issue tayo and biglang nag-breakdown tayo in the middle of may expected results sa atin, whether sa school or sa office, if we were not diagnosed, we did not give ourselves enough self-love to have ourselves properly diagnosed, then we cannot require or demand that entitlement of intindihin niyo ako dahil may mental health issue ako. Dahil we don't even have proof of what we are dealing with. So, if you want your company to help you out, if you want your teachers, your school to help you out, you should all be on the same page. And same thing rin parang love yourself enough, o self-love na, di ba? Love yourself enough to know what you actually need so that you can give yourself what you need. So it actually goes to self-love rin na parang you deserve to get the diagnosis that you need so you can get the right kind of treatment para instead of suffering needlessly. Kasi unang panahon, hindi pa alam to, maraming nagsasuffer quietly. Ngayon, you don't have to. So why do you suffer quietly when there is help that's available?
Are you seeing a change right now sa work and school environments na nagiging easier for people to acknowledge this and to ask for help? And can you compare it with before? Ano ba ang situation before?
Yung Gen Z natin, okay na talaga na parang they are very aware about emotional well-being, mental health, and the pandemic really put a spotlight on this. We began to understand na these things are things that we really need to pay attention to. Kasi otherwise, they blow up into our faces. Kasi it's not just the physical scare, just the physical sickness that has been affecting us. A lot of things like meron na tayong delayed grieving dahil nga maraming namatayan sa atin na we weren't able to grieve properly. Meron talagang nagkaroon ng wala nang work-life balance kasi work from home. So nagkakaroon na dahil may walang work-life balance, nagkakaroon ng overwhelm, doon na nagkakaroon ng, and then pandemic really brought about uncertainty and anxiety. So basically, we are still going through a traumatic experience. So that's may definition pa yung pandemic. Under siya ng definition ng trauma kasi ang daming uncertainty, ang dami nating hindi alam how to deal with it. So the mental health issues became something that we really needed to pay attention to. Pero when it comes pa rin to diagnosing, what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are more open to it. It's just that in the same way na people are afraid of getting diagnosed, yung parang ayaw nila magpa-check up in case may cancer sila. Kasi natatakot sila sa cost ng chemo.
That's
Same
true.
thing doon. Pero I can assure you na mas mababa pa rin ang cost ng nung therapy kaysa sa chemo. Pero it's really part of being in a developing country. We're thinking about the cost. That's why when we normalize this, when we validate this, when we make this as important as physical health issues, then the change that I actually want to see would be sa mga insurance companies and employee benefits. Kasi in short, we really need to take, and companies know this, the companies who survived the pandemic, they know this. We really need to take care of our people in their emotional well-being and in their physical well-being. Kasi especially if they're good people, these are two areas that we really cannot ignore.
And I think it also goes to your previous point, Coach, na parang yung company gusto mag-provide ng support in terms of,
Yes,
sige, kung sino yung
exactly.
gusto ng therapist, sino yung kailangan ng
Oo.
ganitong klaseng treatment. Pero paano nila malalaman kung sino yung nangangailangan
Yes.
or dapat bigyan if
Oo.
you are not diagnosed?
And if you are not forthcoming about what's really happening. So, yung HR, di ba sila yung, a lot of companies really want to take care of their employees. Pero how will they know the right kind of insurance, the right kind of plan, the right kind of benefits that you actually need if you are not forthcoming about what you really need?
And it seems to really start with diagnosis. I think that's what
Yes, it
ako as a
does.
business owner, that's my takeaway, because I struggled with this term mental health issues before this episode. Yan. Kasi kasi 'di ba for me, where do you draw the line between excuses or weakness of character or whatever and somebody who is actually suffering mental health issues?
Mm-hmm.
And from what I'm learning from you, it's really sige, let's get you tested. Let's get you diagnosed.
Yeah, let's get you
first,
tested.
diba?
Uy, magandang slogan yan. Let's
Diba?
get you tested.
Let's get, parang hindi lang from pang mental health issues
COVID.
yun eh.
Oo. Let's get tested, o di ba? Para we find out what the problem is so we can solve the problem. Because there are solutions. That's the good news.
Coach Aileen, at this point in time, parang I'm identifying two kinds of scenarios and I wanted to get your opinions on this. First is the general scenario. What are some things na pwedeng gawin ng employer or school to ensure yung health ng mga mental health ng mga tao? And at the same time, second scenario is after diagnosis, how can schools or companies support the person who was diagnosed with mental health issues? So dito muna tayo sa for general application or kahit walang diagnosis, are there things that you can recommend to employers or schools that they can do, mga programs siguro or ideas to uplift mental health in a general sense?
This is actually what I'm seeing in a lot of corporations right now, especially nga nung nagkaroon ng pandemic. And nagkaroon ako ng, I have had some projects like this. A lot of companies are getting mental health coaches right now. And what ang best thing to do is this, parang instead of just, parang di ba merong health week sa mga companies. So naka-include na ang mental health doon. So instead of generalizing na parang sino ang magkakasakit or may sakit, what we do during this health week or health month is we empower people with coping skills. Kasi in the same way na parang ito, yung COVID, there are things that we can do. We can wear the mask, we can boost our immune system. Same thing with mental health. We can teach people in a workshop setting. So for all employees, mga coping skills, emotional coping skills. And then yung iba, kasi I know a lot of us, parang actually, I don't know of any family that was not touched by a loss during the pandemic. So grief processing skills, healing from grief or going through grief. So these are parang general workshops na will be safe to apply to everyone. Stress management, work-life balance, priorities management. And then, at ito yung mga recent ko yung mga binibigay kong talks, yung how to take care of your heart before you take care of others, especially for leaders and mga parents.
Yun.
Diba?
Oh, nice.
Kasi you can't give to, yung parang ang title ko nga, put your own oxygen mask on first. So same thing, before you can help others, you help yourself first. So andito pumasok yung self-soothing. So there are a lot of general skills that people with no mental health issues can easily apply to them so that they don't end up having mental health breakdowns. And then from these workshops, so this applies to both schools and companies, from these workshops, usually yung mga nagko-conduct or even yung HR or even yung mga team leaders, from there, pwede nilang i-open na, okay, if you feel na you need extra help with this, you can approach me. And then, dun pwedeng ipasok yung second level that corporations can do, support groups. So before the need, parang support group could be facilitated by a counselor, yung ganon na parang what if this is a special needs group only and wala silang specific diagnosis pero in danger sila of having a breakdown or parang medyo nababad sila sa isang situation na super stressful. So ina-address yan. So we can do that as well. And then meron talaga out of the entire population, sabihin mo ng 100, merong mga 2 or 3 na talagang may breakdown, yung talagang kailangan na ng diagnosis. Pero at least, na-empower natin yung 100% of the population, yung support group na kailangan ng supporting parang weekly sessions na avoid natin, naging proactive tayo. And then the ones who require diagnosis, then the company can think about, okay, how do we include this in our medical benefits? So ito yung mga pwedeng gawin ng both schools and companies.
That makes a lot of sense to me. And actually, parang ang dating sa akin, it's mental vaccination, ano?
Yes.
Diba? Parang you vaccinate your your population
may
against
booster pa, di ba?
Oh,
level 2 na ba yung booster? Level 2.
So wait, just to recap that, number 1 is provide workshops kung sakali to give them the proper skills
for
coping,
emotional self-management. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Number 2 is try to create support groups for specific targeted
yung mga
segments.
Mga at-risk populations.
And then yung number 3, yung mga particular programs na. Kunwari, ito medyo talagang identified na.
Kailangan na may diagnosis.
Kailangan na ng electroshock therapy.
Oo,
ginagamit pa ba yan?
Hindi naman.
So I think yung third, I think it would be something to work with your HR with, no? Na parang pwedeng maisama sa mga HMO or mga company benefits.
Exactly.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for that, Coach Aileen. So that's for the general population. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk about yung after. Assuming na diagnose ngayon yung empleyado or student, are there things that are needed? Are there adjustments that need to be made by the school or the work environment as a result of the diagnosis?
Okay, again, it depends on diagnosis kasi iba-iba talaga. Pero what I see is that if this person was able to apply to your company at natanggap siya, then most likely whatever diagnosis they have, they are high functioning. So that means their diagnosis it's not going to impede their productivity at work, parang how they deliver results. Pero what this also means is that especially if they're having a breakdown right now, there are certain elements in the current situation that just need to be addressed. So kaya when they have medication and at the same time they're going through therapy na pwedeng weekly, pwedeng every other week, then that would be enough. And if needed, especially if the company is aware na they are going through therapy, the therapist can always be contacted na parang, are there certain things that we need to know to help support our employee? Pero usually, it's not just the company, it's not necessarily the company. The first level talaga will be the loved ones. Sila ang talagang, kung kailangan, sila yung kinokontak talaga ng therapist para ma-assist in terms of their emotional well-being.
So
pero
dapat pati yung pati yung loved ones ay nagwo-workshop din. Tsaka
I think so.
Okay,
diba?
masyadong gastos naman sa sa kumpanya.
Yun naman.
Yun lang. I like that.
Pero hopefully na yung mga loved ones, meron din silang ina-undergo na gano'n. A lot of schools are doing that now. Mga equipping sessions ang tawag namin dun sa school that I have been working with. So, it's just like any illness na parang, kunyari may diabetes ang tao, ang employee. Apart from subsidizing yung sa medical benefits, wala naman na talagang ina-expect from the company eh. Pero the loved ones, watch out for the diet, make sure na umiinom ng gamot yung ano. So this is really how we normalize things, yung parang both mental health issues and medical issues, and how we can really fully support our employees and everyone else.
Coach Aileen, I think kung yung empleyado naman papasok pa lang ng company, I think it would be a good idea to ask about it or disclose it, ano, para alam kagad ng HR how to support.
That
Even with
would be
students, I
good.
guess.
Mas honestly speaking, it's right now, mas magiging forthcoming ang parents and students when they come into a school so that they can have the support that they need from the teachers. Pero when it comes to employees trying to apply for a position, it can open them up kasi, and this is parang subconsciously there could be discrimination. And that's something that we will need to work on as a culture, as the world, as people of the world. Kasi
I
totoo
understand
na parang you have a qualified candidate with a mental health diagnosis and a qualified candidate who does not have one. So even if we want to be as fair as we could, parang it could really add to subconsciously. It could really influence our decision. So I understand if an employee will not be forthcoming about it. And then, pag nandyan na, at saka na lang siya, yung parang kaya naman niyang perform, then good. Pag kailangan na lang extra support, then pwedeng ibigay yun.
Well, thank you so much, Coach Aileen. We learned a lot. And what I like about this, Attorney Ramon, is napaka-balanced ng treatment.
Yes.
Diba? Na parang hindi in favor of the employer, hindi rin in favor of the employee or student. Diba? Balance tayo sa gitna so that all of the needs are met. Coach Aileen, do you have some final words for our listeners and viewers?
Okay. On one hand, parang we are in this stage of evolution. Na parang the pandemic has brought about a lot of problems, but when we saw the problems, now we are empowered to create solutions for this. And it's not all of these things that I mentioned, they are good solutions that we can all apply, pero it will take time. So we just all need to have patience and work together, the employers, the employees, the students, and everyone else. Kasi we're all going through this together, just like the pandemic. We're all going through this together. But the more that we are learning, the more we are going to be able to adapt to all these new things that we need to understand.
Ayan. Thank you so much, Coach Aileen. And if the listeners and viewers want to get in touch with you or check out what you have in store as workshops or as consultations, where can they reach you?
Okay, so on Facebook, they can find me on facebook.com/Coach Aileen.
Coach Aileen, I believe you have a weekly show. Do you mind telling us about that?
Yes. So every Friday at 9 p.m. Manila time, I do #Love Lessons with Love Coach Aileen because basically I'm really a relationship coach. But when we talk about relationships, it's about relationship with yourself, with your loved ones, with your family and your friends. And every Friday at 9 p.m. Manila time, I do a Facebook Live on facebook.com/Coach Aileen. And that's where I answer the most common questions that I get throughout the week. So kung gusto nilang maayos yan ang relationships nila, then they can tune in via Facebook.
That makes sense kasi ang pag-ibig nakaka-stress din yan eh. Nakaka-mental anguish din yan eh.
So ano yan? Every Friday?
Every Friday at 9 p.m. Manila.
Okay, sige. Thank you. I'm writing it down.
Again, thank you so much, Coach Aileen.
You're welcome.